Hello friends, and welcome back to another virtual story time with Miss Liz. Today, we're going to read a book about the togetherness that can be brought by sharing. Today's story is called Thank You, Omu, and it's by Oge Mora. As you can see here, someone is taking a smell of a delicious dish. What could it be? We're about to find out. Here we go. Thank You, Omu, by Oge Mora. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor of the building, Omu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What a delicious stew, Omu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had. And look at that stew. Doesn't it look tasty? I think so. With that, Omu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall toward the street and around the block until, knock, 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 someone was at the door. When Omu opened it, she saw a little boy. Little boy, Omu exclaimed, what brings you to my house? I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell, the little boy replied. What is it? Thick red stew, said Omu. Stew, he sighed. That sure sounds yummy. And do you know what Omu did? Can you guess? Omu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. Would you like some? She asked the boy. The little boy nodded. And so Omu spooned out some of the thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Omu, the little boy said, and he went on his way. With that, Omu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious smell wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until, knock, 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 someone else was at the door. When Omu opened the door, this time she saw a police officer. Miss Police Officer, Omu exclaimed, what brings you to my house? I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell, Miss Police Officer replied. What is it? Thick red stew, said Omu. Stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. And do you think you know what Omu did next? Omu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? She asked. The police officer nodded. Once again, Omu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Omu, the officer said, and went on her way. And so for the second time, Omu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until, knock, knock, knock. Again, someone was at Omu's door. And this time, when she opened the door, she saw a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Omu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell, Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew, said Omu. Oh, stew. The vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. Do you think you know what Omu did next? So Omu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Omu, the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Omu's door. She fed a shop owner and a cab driver and a doctor and an actor and a lawyer and a dancer and a baker and an artist and a singer and an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. All of these people. And each time they knocked, Omu shared her stew. Soon the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Omu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, look what she found. It was empty. She had shared and shared and shared until she had nothing left for herself. Uh-oh. Omu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until... Knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Omu wondered. And when she opened her door, she saw the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone who she had fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Omu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have none left to share. The little boy tugged at her sleeve and said, Don't worry, Omu, we are not here to ask. We are here to give. And it was true. The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Omu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Omu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Omu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love and all of the wonderful things people brought to share. That dinner was the best she had ever had. And this is what was inside the special red envelope that the little boy brought. It was a card, and it said, Thank you, Omu, on the outside. Oh, hi, Waffles. I think she enjoyed our story today. And that, my friends, is the end. I hope you enjoyed this tale about the wonders of sharing. And I'm about to share a little love with some of my friends that live with me at home. I thank you all for joining with me, and I will see you next week for more great books. Thanks for watching.